Kevin, would you come up, please? We have a special presentation today that Kevin is going to present.
Thank you. All right, so a couple of months ago, Chris Norris and I were having a conversation about how we could recognize speakers who come to our club from a long distance. They're not local. They come from a long distance. They come year after year after year. And we came up with this idea. We took it to the board, and the board agreed to it. So we're going to recognize today the Reverend Dr. Lori Walke as an honorary member of the Stillwater Frontier Rotary Club, complete with certificate, complete with the whole member packet. Anytime you happen to be in Stillwater at noon on a Thursday, come have lunch with us. Deal. All right? So, in addition, the founder of Rotary International is a man named Paul Harris. Founded Rotary 120 years ago back in Chicago. And there is something called the Paul Harris Fellowship. And we have made you a Paul Harris Fellow as well, complete with all the stuff that goes with that, including this wonderful certificate suitable for framing, and a Paul Harris Fellow pin that next time you come, you need to make sure you're wearing just to show your acknowledgement of us. So anyway, congratulations. And so we are delighted you're here. All right. Here you go.
So thank you so much for being a well-loved part of our club. And now Chris told me that you need no introduction, so I won't give a biography, but everyone please welcome the Reverend Dr. Lori Walke.
To leave it on the whole time. There it is.
It's on.
Okay, I also have Bill's mini mic on. Is there anybody else that has a mini mic that I can wear that would be helpful to help hear? I asked that because I also have a cochlear implant, and so I am deeply committed to making sure we are trying to create environments in which people can hear as best we can. Okay, I'm just going to charge in though. Thank you, friends. It really is good to be here. Thank you to Chris for the invitation. Thank you to the friends who made a special trip to be here. It's really important to have audience plants. Thank you to the rest of you for having me. And now, having expressed customary sentences of gratitude, the next customary thing for me to do is to ask how y'all are doing. And the customary answer everyone is supposed to give is fine. Fine. Right? Fine. Yeah, except that most people I know are concerned. Concerned, as in troubled, bothered, upset, angry, and anxious about our national political climate, concerned about the local political climate, concerned about climate change, concerned about people being disappeared off the streets, concerned about deportations and separation of church and state, the federal workforce and tariffs and taxes and Teslas. We are concerned about our nation's health and vaccines and school lunches, concerned about the Federal Reserve and revised job numbers and the Epstein files. People are concerned about U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reposting and praising Doug Wilson, a Christian nationalist pastor who doesn't believe women should be allowed to vote and who has described women as the kind of people that people come out of. We are concerned about Ukraine and Russia and Qatar and Palestine and Israel, particularly Gaza. We are concerned about the National Guard deployed in cities across America. We are concerned about racial profiling and free speech. We are concerned, especially now that school is back in session, about gun violence, including yesterday's horrific shootings at Utah Valley University and Evergreen High School in Colorado. We are concerned that this is the worst that it's ever been. But is it? But is it the worst it's ever been? For those who have read John Meacham's book, And There Was Light, Abraham Lincoln and the American Struggle, you will remember the story of anti-slavery Senator Charles Sumner, who on the Senate floor in 1856 gave a speech denouncing Senator Andrew Butler. Sumner accused Butler of having taken a mistress, one that he described as ugly to others, but lovely to him. But Sumner was not referencing a woman or marriage infidelity. He was referencing Butler's devotion to the enslavement of black people. Butler's mistress was slavery, and he was committed. Butler's cousin, Preston Brooks, who was in the house, heard that speech and 3 days later ambushed Charles Sumner, who was preparing to mail out copies of his speech. Preston Brooks struck Charles Sumner with a cane again and again and again, blows raining down in sickening thuds until Sumner was unconscious, bleeding profusely, and severely injured. Charles Sumner was so gravely wounded that he was unable to resume his seat in Congress for 3 years. 3 years. That's how long his recovery took. Meanwhile, Congress investigated Preston Brooks for the assault, which was very public. But they failed to censure him, as in, they couldn't even find the will to pass a resolution that said, oh, that is not cool. We cannot beat people on the floor of Congress. They couldn't even do that. And to make matters worse, Brooks resigned from Congress in July of 1856, and then people immediately reelected him a month later. Talk about a dysfunctional Congress and a dysfunctional electorate. This is, in addition, of course, to the facts that slavery wasn't abolished until 1865 and was replaced almost immediately by black codes and the proliferation of Jim Crow laws. Segregation didn't officially end until 1964. Between 1963 and 1968, John F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. During the 1970s, protest bombings in America were commonplace. In a single 18-month period during 1971 and 1972, the FBI counted an astonishing 2,500 bombings on American soil, almost 5 a day. And of course, today is the anniversary of one of the worst days in our country, 9/11. So I suggest to you that this is not the worst it's ever been, which is not to say that things aren't terrible. It's not to say that things aren't wildly alarming. It is not to say that things aren't keep us up at night bad. I am not saying that it is wrong to think that there is no light at the end of this dark tunnel we are in. But to say that this is the worst that it's ever been says more about us than about reality. And at the risk of offending the audience, which is something my congregation will tell you does not bother me at all, to say that it is the worst that it's ever been is to admit that we have not been paying attention. We have not been listening to those who have been struggling. We have been unthinking, unaware, and insensitive to the fact that violence, injustice, and flat-out evil has been happening. That same just injustice and violence and evil that we are clutching our pearls over now has been happening. And yet some of us are acting like this is fresh, new chaos. But while it may be unfamiliar, it is not fresh or new. They are leftovers of justice delayed and denied. It is our country's unfinished business. It is work left to be done from America's original homework assignment. And that original assignment dates back to the summer of 1787. It was then that the American dream was put to paper, articulated in the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. Many of us were made to memorize it in grade school, so please join me if you can. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. In short, our assignment: establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. As Sharon McMahon, America's favorite government teacher, explains, this was our way of saying we, the citizens of this new country that is wholly independent from Britain, want you to know that we intend to establish justice. This phrase gives us a sense of moral rightness, of equality and fairness. We intend to ensure domestic tranquility and provide for the common defense. This demonstrates our government's duty to maintain a sense of peace within its own borders and establishes its commitment to protect its people from foreign threats. We intend to promote the general welfare. That is to say, we intend to work for the common good. And we intend to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. This promise is now a hallmark of any democracy, the protections of civil liberties under the law, and a limiting of the power of government so people are shielded from an overreaching and authoritarian regime. The text of the preamble imagined America at its finest: just, peaceful, good, and free. Sharon McMahon continues, with astonishing regularity, Americans have held fast to these ideals despite the clickbait stories that portend calamity. And America has too often fallen short of these standards. But both of these things can be true at the same time. America has been just, and it has perpetuated injustice. We have been peaceful, and we have perpetrated acts of violence. We have been, and are, good. And we have done terrible things to people who didn't deserve them. It has been the land of the free, while simultaneously sanctioning oppression. Such is often the experience of any government run by fallible human beings. Sometimes we surprise ourselves in our capacity for greatness, and sometimes the weight of regret wraps around us like a chain. The ideals outlined in the Constitution represent our national purpose, the raft we must cling to in the storm, the breath in our lungs, the beat in our chest: just, peaceful, good, free. Just, peaceful, good, free. Ordinary people conjured this mission. This is our assignment, friends, to contribute to the work to move us all closer towards that more perfect union, one that is just, peaceful, good, and free. It seems right now that no one really has any idea what to do. And also, everybody has ideas about what we should do. And they are really happy to share them everywhere, on the internet, on the TV. And they often contradict each other. They sometimes contradict themselves. Go to this rally, it's important to have bodies. Don't go to rallies, they are really meaningless. Don't say something to family, you'll just cause more division. Definitely put your foot in your mouth at the kitchen table. Absolutely necessary. I do not find it necessary to give you another list of things to do. I trust that you know the gifts and the graces and the resources that you bring to the table, different ways to advance the cause of justice and peace and liberty. So I will just say, lean into what you're good at and help other people lean into what they are good at. I have confidence that we will figure out what is the right and best things for each of us to do. And that confidence goes back to the fact that, and forgive me for repeating myself, but it goes back to you all being concerned as in troubled, bothered, upset, angry, and anxious. But it is also because we are concerned as in attentive to, thinking about, involved with, concerned as in part of and making progress on, concerned as in engaged. And this is the most important thing we can be. For the best Americans are not the critics, but the doers. They are the people who went for broke when everyone else yelled to turn back. They are those who know that one becomes great because of who they lift up, not for who they put down. I have learned that no one reaches their final moments of mortal existence and whispers to their loved ones, "I wish I had gotten in some more sick burns on Facebook." Friends, please keep being concerned. Keep being troubled, bothered, upset, angry, and anxious. But also keep being concerned, attentive to, thinking about, and involved. Do something. Action, after all, is what Rotary is about. It is not just a monthly get-together with a good dessert table, but a network of neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Rotary's action items on your webpage includes work to promote peace, fight disease, provide clean water, save mothers and children, support education, grow local economies, and protect the environment. That's not someone else's list, it's your list. It's your to-do list for yourselves. A list, much like the preamble, conjured by ordinary people. So do your homework, and it will consequently help us move towards that more perfect union we've been working on for several centuries. Friends, may you have the grace to never sell yourselves short, the courage to risk something big for something good, and the wisdom to know that the world is too small for anything but love. I'll see you out there. Thank you.
Okay, at the risk of spinning you off into a different career, about 7 or 8. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Chris. About 7 or 8 years ago, I asked a speaker if they'd thought about running for office, and that person became our governor because he hadn't announced yet. Have you
It wasn't set up at all. Have you considered running for office? And if so, why or why not?
I actually was a poli-sci major here at Oklahoma State because I thought I was going to run for office. I'll tell you, I have a real bone to pick with Mary Fallon because when I was in junior high, I was very, very convinced that I was indeed going to be the first woman elected to the governor's mansion, but here we are. And then I went to law school because I also thought that would help further my chances. And some of you know my story. I did indeed graduate from law school and have a very shiny bar card after passing the bar exam, and I pay the Oklahoma Bar Association lots of money every year to keep that current so that I never have to take that exam again. But instead of doing that, I went to seminary. And I married someone who didn't say at the time he was going to run for office, but I didn't tell him I was going to be a preacher either. So we're even. And Colin was elected to the House of Representatives. He represented House District 87 in Northwest Oklahoma City and got a little bit of experience to see behind the curtain there. We never say never in the Walke House, so it's not a foregone conclusion that I won't ever run for office. That is not currently in the plans.
Could you announce here if you do?
I have a pin. How could I not?
A certificate suitable for framing. Any other questions? Good one.
Lori, you were in the news quite a bit in the last year, specifically with the Supreme Court case on St. Isidora. Can you talk a little bit about the outcome, how you feel about how the case was settled?
Sure. So I'm a plaintiff in a number of cases against the state, all of which have something to do with the separation of church and state. The case that is being referenced, St. Isidore, you all might have heard, we were opposed to a religious charter school receiving public money and felt like they had made it very clear that their intent was to indoctrinate. And that is absolutely fine to do on your own dime, just not with taxpayer money. The Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled, and it's a little bit complicated because our state attorney general also brought a separate case. Many of our arguments were the same, but not all of them. His case went to the Supreme Court, although the Supreme Court really had found at that point for both of us, had ruled against St. Isidore. Went to the highest court in our nation, and it was a tie, which means that the ruling of the state, our state Supreme Court, stood. And of course, we felt like that was a win, although it was, wish they had been a little more clear, and we're under no illusion that that fight is done and finished. But I think it takes all of us to be vigilant. I'm also the lead plaintiff in Reverend Lori Walke versus Ryan Walters, which I think they did just for the alliteration. And that case is, I feel like it is an affront to religious liberty to force Bibles in all public classrooms. And I'm happy to answer other questions about that other than it's really generally a period.